Good evening, everyone. I'm Doug Logan, and I'm thrilled to be joining you this evening virtually for the Vera House Foundation New Beginnings No Show Gala. This evening will be a bit different this year, but we still hope that you'll enjoy our entire program. Thank you all for joining us. Thank you for your continued support of Vera House. Before we get started, I'd like to remind you to make certain that you have everything on hand that you'll need for our wine and food pairing, which will be happening a little bit later in the program. We'd like to extend a big thank you to Liquor Warehouse, the Speech Family Candy Shop, and of course, Laura Surway, proprietress of Lacey's Tapas Bar, who will expertly lead us through our tasting a little bit later. So grab your wine glasses, uncork your bottles, and make certain your cheese and chocolates are close by, and you won't want to miss the fun that we have a little bit later. I'd like now to take a moment to acknowledge our underwriters that help make this evening possible, and I might add, successful. We're exceedingly grateful for the support of the Lynn Law Firm, Northwestern Mutual, Clark Family Fund, Community Bank, the Horowitz Family Foundation, M&T Bank, One Group, Raymore and Flanagan Furniture, RBC Wealth Management, Wegmans, Bousquet Holstein, Bond Shenick & King, Sirio Law Offices, and I'm just getting started, there's more, CNY Community Foundation, Diamond and Teal Construction Company, Discipline Capital Management, EB&L Marketing, Irwin and Julie Flack, Margie Burstein, Mark and Polly Fuller, National Grid, Onondaga Community College, Porter Norby Howe LLP, Syracuse Label and Surround Printing, Syracuse University, the Dorothy and Marshall M. Reisman Foundation, and a special thanks to our media sponsors, CNY Central and Cumulus Media. Thanks to all of you for your continuing support of the mission of Vera House as we work to end domestic and sexual violence and elder abuse. We'd also like to take this time to extend a special thanks to Cazenovia Jewelers for partnering with us once again this year to sponsor our jewelry raffle. Don't miss your opportunity to purchase a raffle ticket or two for a chance to win a 14-karat white gold diamond heart pendant necklace valued at $1,200. Visit our silent auction page below to view this gorgeous piece of jewelry and get your raffle tickets. We're exceedingly grateful to everyone who helped make this evening possible. Thank you to the outstanding gala committee, individuals and businesses who generously donated to our silent auction, our sponsored ads, and to each and every one of you for your tuning in here this evening. The success of this event is absolutely critical because of your great support. It's now my pleasure to introduce to you Vera House Executive Director, Randy Bregman.
Good evening, and thank you for joining us tonight. I'm accompanied by my dear friend, Angela Douglas. Angela was hired as Associate Director at Vera House about 3 years ago. In case you haven't heard the wonderful news, I'm thrilled to inform you that Angela was recently selected by the Vera House Board of Directors to serve as co-executive director of Vera House. We will be building on the partnership we have established over the last 3 years. As 2020 draws to a close, we look back on a year like no other. I have been at Vera House over 30 years and never could have imagined all that we would face this year.
Our staff, volunteers, and interns have been amazing in helping and guiding us through this challenging time. We were struck with overwhelm and terror that our clients, people who needed us the most, would be trapped in their homes with their abusers, unable to reach us or connect with us. We worked diligently to keep our 24-hour hotline open. We also then were able to launch a chat line, which is open a few key hours during the day and the evening, so that even if they couldn't call, they would be able to reach out through text message. During this time, we were able to maintain all of our shelter services, and for the first time in history, having a waiting list for those who were most needing to escape the homes that they were living in. It is through these times that we are grateful that our staff mobilized. We were able to move to online services, helping who we could. We worked diligently with family court to ensure that orders of protection could still be maintained. This happened within 2 weeks of the pandemic taking place. In the first week that we were there, we had our first walk-in. A woman who came to our front door with 2 children, stating that she had just been assaulted and had nowhere else to go. And despite the pandemic, despite the masks, despite the need for social distancing, we were able to work closely with her and with our court system to ensure that she had somewhere safe to be with her children.
Our team literally worked night and day in order to ensure that services were maintained. But as hard as our staff worked, we knew we weren't reaching everyone who needed our assistance. We were reminded of a fundamental truth that we had been wrestling with over the last couple of years. And that truth was how racism and other forms of oppression intersect with our work. The people who struggled the most to connect with services were often people of color, economically disadvantaged, and/or marginalized in other ways. A little over 2 years ago, we passed a strategic plan that called upon us to become better allies to those experiencing oppression. Some have asked us about our choice to be allies and wondered if it somehow takes us away from our mission. I believe it takes us closer to our mission. Why? Because we believe abuse is any behavior that hurts, humiliates, or puts fear in another. All forms of oppression, including racism, homophobia, transphobia, xenophobia, all forms of oppression hurt, humiliate, and put fear in people. We cannot address domestic violence, sexual assault, or elder abuse without acknowledging this.
As we moved through the summer with protests and uprising over the systemic racism that occurred throughout this time of the pandemic and beyond, we recognize that we have to do more than ever before. That we truly, in serving those who most need us, we have found that we've not been most accessible. We have committed to identifying how systemic racism shows up at Vera House, how doing what we must to change our systems to ensure our services are welcoming, comprehensive, and building the healing that is necessary. This is not easy work, but we're committed to it. The pandemic also created tremendous financial challenges. Our White Ribbon campaign was upended, resulting in significant loss of anticipated revenue. We faced tens of thousands of dollars in cuts from state and county contracts. We are fearful about the further cuts anticipated in 2021. Throughout all of this turmoil, the community's generosity has seen us through, and we want to thank you. From March on, we received small and large gifts from across the community that sustained us. Continued support is the only thing that we have to ensure our vital services remain. Please consider making a donation. Each and every gift, large or small, goes to impact those who are most in need.
And while we welcome your donations, as we always do, we also ask you tonight to commit to do more than to give money. We ask you, as we have for the last several years, to take action, to partner with us to achieve our vision of a world free of violence and abuse, a world in which people are loved and respected for who they are, a world in which children are safe in their homes and in their communities, a world in which hateful words and hurtful actions have given way to loving words and brave, caring acts. It is now my sincere pleasure to introduce our honorary chairs, the amazing and wonderful couple, Joy and Pierre Morisseau. Pierre is currently the CEO of One Group and a Vera House Foundation trustee. I met Pierre early in my career at Vera House. He served on the White Ribbon Committee, was a board member and later board president, and provided leadership to our original Information Systems Committee. At a time when we literally only had a few computers in our entire office, Pierre helped us vision a way to truly use technology, even literally climbing on the ladders to run the cable in our ceiling to create our very first network at Vera House. Pierre always had a smile and a warmth and a connection to every staff person at Vera House. He has remained dedicated to our mission and offered his support in every way possible. And it was through Pierre that we met Joy, his wonderful wife. And Joy got involved with our annual auction, doing a lot of the graphic design work on our auction program. She even enlisted the help of their 2 children to sell raffle tickets at the event because, as she said at the time, who could resist 2 little red-headed kids? Pierre and Joy have been married for 35 years. Pierre spends his free time with a diverse range of hobbies: golf, skiing, car racing, flying radio-controlled airplanes. I didn't know that one until I learned that piece tonight. Handyman to a 90-year-old house, and eating ice cream whenever he can get away with it. He is a big cheerleader, not only for Vera House, but for the entire community. And he is engaged in supporting the ever-growing local entrepreneurial efforts in our community. Joy spends most of her time practicing Taekwondo as a 3rd-degree black belt, taking line dance classes, fitness classes, vegetable gardening, landscaping, arts and crafts of all kinds, walking her grand dog Albert, and the biggest responsibility of all, of course, taking care of Pierre. Without further ado, here's our 2020 New Beginnings No Show Gala honorary chairs, Pierre and Joy Morisseau.
Thank you, Randy, and good evening. Joy and I are thrilled to be here tonight as this year's honorary chairs of the New Beginnings Gala. When Randy first approached us regarding being the honorary chairs, we felt truly honored. Joy and I and our children have a 27-year history of supporting Vera House. It was one of my first experiences of serving on a not-for-profit board for a social services agency. From the very beginning, Joy lent her graphic design expertise to the many events and communications. My children attended these meetings, and from a very young age were soliciting raffle tickets as they were quite good at it themselves. Over the years, we have continued our support as volunteers, committee members, White Ribbon Chair, Board President, Foundation Trustee, and financially. We remained involved for so many years because we believe in the mission of Vera House: to prevent, respond to, and partner to end domestic and sexual violence and other forms of abuse. Try to imagine being in crisis, worried about your safety, and perhaps the safety of your children, and feeling like you have nowhere to turn. Vera House makes genuine and lasting difference in the lives of so many people because they help them navigate their way out of the crisis to a new beginning. When I was president of the board of directors, I had the honor of speaking on Vera House behalf at many events. What always struck me was that after every speaking engagement, people would come up to me and thank me for what Vera House had done for them. I could feel from the look in their eyes what Vera House meant to them. I can also tell you that over the 27 years, Vera House has helped members of my family, my friends, and acquaintances. They provide hope and healing in so many different ways. Now more than ever, this organization that we love needs your support. The realities of COVID-19 and the many people sheltering in place in their homes has meant that the need for Vera House's services in the community, whether it's counseling, advocacy, emergency shelter, prevention, education, or legal assistance, is especially critical. So tonight, as you enjoy the annual gala from the comfort of your home, please think of those who may not have the comfort right now and to support Vera House with the donation. A silent auction bid, a jewelry raffle ticket. The donation of those funds are vital to allowing Vera House to create new beginnings for members of our community and continuing to work towards their mission of a world free of violence and abuse for all, and they can't do it without you.
Thank you, Joy and Pierre, for your continued total commitment to Vera House. It is now my pleasure to introduce the chair of the Vera House Foundation, Russell Sturts.
Good evening, my name is Russ Sturts and I am chair of the Vera House Foundation. It's my pleasure to welcome you to the 2020 Vera House New Beginnings No Show Gala. I want to personally welcome each of you to our virtual event tonight and thank you for your support of Vera House this year. Much has changed since last year's gala. These changes have caused many of us to spend more time at home with family or close friends. For some of us, the reduced social calendar and additional family time is a welcome respite from our overscheduled and fast-paced lives. However, for far too many people experiencing violence and abuse in our community, this environment has been a nightmare. Since the onset of the pandemic, demand for Vera House services has increased significantly, while COVID-19 restrictions and protocols have made delivery of services more difficult and costly. Long-time stable government funding sources are less certain today as all levels of government struggle with the costs of the pandemic. Donor support, both past and present, has allowed Vera House to navigate these unprecedented times with confidence, and for that, we are truly grateful. On behalf of the Vera House Foundation, I want to thank you all again for your support of Vera House.
Thank you, Russ. It's now my pleasure to introduce Vera House Board President, Barbara Carper.
Thank you, Doug, and good evening to all of you. I'm Barb Carper, and I've had the pleasure of serving as board president since January. As I reflect on this past year, two words come to mind: gratitude and commitment. On behalf of the board of directors, I wish to express our tremendous gratitude for the staff of Vera House. Within days of everything shutting down last March, the staff worked together creatively to maintain consistent levels of service and support to all the clients and communities they serve. They put aside their own personal worries in order to serve others, demonstrating once again the responsiveness, resourcefulness, and leadership of this staff. Vera House staff, we are grateful for you and for all that you do. While we applaud the efforts and dedication of the staff, it has been realized that not everyone in our community who needs help is being served. We found that victims and survivors of color have been left behind. However, when you surround yourself by people who share a commitment around a common purpose, anything is possible. As a board, we are committed, and we stand with the staff in the shared commitment to better serve everyone in our community. We have learned that we need to earn trust with communities of color and do a better job of reaching them and providing more effective services. We have found that sexual assault and domestic violence agencies, Vera House included, have unintentionally yet traditionally prioritized the needs of white victims and left behind victims and survivors of color. We need to do better, and we can do better. All victims and survivors deserve to be reached and supported. We believe this so strongly that it has become a strategic priority. As a woman of color, I need to be assured that Vera House is there for me and for others who look like me. Vera House must be for everyone. We must increase our outreach to communities of color, and we need to guide changes to Vera House's services that will allow us to be a trusted partner to all survivors and victims. It is only through serving everyone well that we can hope to achieve our vision of a world free of violence and abuse. Thank you.
Thank you, Barb. Now I'm excited to tell you about a special video that we're premiering here this evening. Thank you to our friends at Solon Quinn Studios for making this powerful video this evening. Take a look.
What makes shelter shelter is those that come through that door.
The one word for shelter is safe.
It's really a safe haven. It is a life-saving space.
That moment when you're working with a client and they get into a safe house or a safe apartment, and then they can go, wow, I did it. I'm moving into my own place. This is mine.
The ability to escape harm and to what I call reclaim your life, it is very much like the heartbeat of Vera House, I think.
You learn a lot when you're there. You learn a lot about yourself. You learn a lot about the residents around you. You learn a lot about your coworkers.
I was going through a domestic violence relationship from about, 2013 to maybe 2017. It got to the point where I thought I was going to lose my life. So through Olivia and Monira from the DA's office, I was able to obtain an order of protection. I was able to feel a lot safer and feel like my life wasn't in danger every day.
There are times where we're all sitting together and crying about a case, saying, how do we help this case more? How do we help this parent? Then there are times where we see that client get to the end and be successful and get on their own. And we're so excited and happy together.
That is something that really moves me, when you can see a person that you never saw before and they come to you for help and you can actually help them.
You know, like when clients really truly know and feel like I really am here to support you. And it's like sometimes I even tell clients, like, take the Vera House part out of it. Like I really just care for the people that come in, and my heart is like just in this work.
It's not a job. It's way more than a job. It's part of your life. It's part of who you are. It's in your DNA. And the ones that I work closely with, they're our family.
A lot of people think that Vera House is just a shelter somewhere where you stay, but it's more than just a shelter. We really do believe in the work that we do to try and stop this domestic violence and sexual assault and all the abuse that is happening around the world.
Vera House, at the end of the day, again, is providing a life-saving service. And that I think what Vera House is doing is we are meeting people at their most vulnerable, and we are helping them to heal and reclaim their life.
If it wasn't for all the people that we serve for being brave enough to say, I need help, none of us would be here.
The amount of growth that I've done since that time, or like it didn't affect me in a way that I was like in fear for my life again. And I actually did see him one time. I was actually at the courthouse with my client that I told you about with the 4 kids. We had just gotten a full stay-away order of protection from her abuser, and I was coming out of the courthouse and he was walking by to go in. And I said something to my sister Olivia, and he ended up being there because there was another domestic violence situation in which somebody did press charges against him.
I think one of the critical things is most people don't know most homicides happen when someone tries to leave or after they leave. And so for Vera House to be so planful, supportive in helping people escape and then be able to have a life, it is no small thing. It is a work of miracles, I think.
I don't want to say it was a relief, to know that he's still the same person and still has these behaviors, but I knew that I did the right thing, and I know that I'm just so blessed and grateful to be where I am at in life, because when I was in that, I really didn't see a way out. And just seeing him again and not feeling that fear felt amazing.
What an impactful video. Solon and his team never disappoint. Well, while we've been chatting this evening, we hope you've had a chance to purchase a jewelry raffle ticket. Remember, the tickets are only $50 each, and one lucky person will win a 14-karat white gold diamond heart pendant necklace valued at $1,200. Be sure to tune in to Vera House's Facebook page at Vera House Inc. on Monday, December 7th at 12 noon for our live drawing. Until then, get your ticket or tickets at the link shown below. The package is listed as jewelry raffle ticket, and there's no limit on the number of tickets you can purchase for your chance to win the gorgeous heart pendant necklace. Also, don't forget to bid on our amazing silent auction items. Visit our silent auction at the link below. Just a few items to update for you. A 3-night retreat in Finger Lakes at the Bed and Breakfast at Oliver Phelps. An in-home Maker's Marks personal whiskey tasting and food pairing for up to 10 people with Laura Surway of Lacey's Tapas Bar and Chef Billy Genty of Your Table is Ready. And a 2021 Coleman Lantern 21.5-foot travel trailer. Our silent auction will be open until Sunday, December 6th at 7 o'clock. So bid high and bid to win. Every dollar raised through our silent auction will help adults and children impacted by domestic violence, sexual violence, or elder abuse in our community find safety, hope, and healing. Okay, it's the moment we've all been waiting for. Now it's time for a wine, cheese, and chocolate pairing with Laura Surway, proprietress of Lacey's Tapas Bar. Laura will be joined by Michael Speech, owner of Speech Family Candy Shop. Take it away, Laura and Michael.
So here we are at the 2020 Gala for Vera House. We're the very tail end of this event. But this is the fun part, because guess what? You're at Lacey's Tapas Bar and we're sampling wine. Even though I'm a bourbon fanatic and I can tell you much more about bourbon than I can wine. But you know, you fake it till you make it, right? So that's kind of my goal. Mikey, we don't drink much together though, do we?
Nope.
Never. Okay. No. So anyway, we're going to go through and talk about wine and the basics of wine. So before we do that, you've got in front of you, you've got a Chardonnay, you have got a rosé, and you've got a Cab Sauv. And I was listening to an article this morning, actually, and it was talking about Cab Sauv at one point, because of the way the grapes are growing and because of the earth changing the temperatures and all of the, whatever, what do they call it, global warming that's going on, that we're going to run out of Cab Sauv vines, like in 30 years. And I was like, what? How could that be? So I've already started stocking my basement. I did it today.
Doesn't surprise me.
Yeah. So what you want to remember when you order a wine, because so many people go to a restaurant to order wine and they don't know what to say or do. And I love the people that say to me, well, Laura, just bring me X, Y, Z. I'm like, okay, you don't want me to do that because it's going to be a $95 bottle of wine, because that's what I do is sell. But so what you do when you have the wine and you've picked it out and they come to the table, right? When you look at that bottle of wine, make sure it's the right year, make sure it's the right name, do all the basics, because trust me when I tell you, there are people that will try to slip one underneath. When they pour the wine, what do you do with a cork? Everyone says, oh, you pick it up, you smell it, you touch it. The only thing you should know about that cork, when they put the cork on the table, can you see some wetness on it so the wine has been stored correctly? Has it chipped off at all? Because if it has, don't even bother with that bottle of wine, right? So, and then set it down. You know, there's stories about let me chew on it, no, we don't do any of those things. It just doesn't take place that way. And also, you want to understand that when they come to the table, you are the expert. You are the person. And again, I tell people this all the time, because I do drink a little too much bourbon periodically, that whatever you know in your mind and in your smells and whatever's been stored here, like when you go to your parents' house or your grandparents' house, there's always a certain smell, right? We store like over 10,000 smells. And so what I did, when I became certified bourbon steward, if you believe this, these are all little containers of smells. This one happens to be a vanilla smell. This one happens to be a alcohol smell. Ooh, okay. This one happens to be earthy smell. Because everyone says, oh, this wine's a little earthy, or this. How do you train yourself? So there are courses to go through all that, but again, it's not necessary as you're ordering wine at a restaurant. What are you looking for? The first thing you're looking for at that glass of wine, we're going to start with a Chardonnay. You're going to look to see if it's what the clarity is. It's always going to be a little yellow because that's a little fresher. You're not. If it's a little whiter, it's an older white wine. So you want the look, you want the smell, you've got the swirl, and you've got the sip. That's the standard with all of these. So we're going to go through all of that as we go through these wines. So this first wine is the Eve Chardonnay. So go ahead and pick up your glass, and you're going to tilt the glass a little bit to look for your clarity, and you can see through it. And now with this Chardonnay, you know, they talk about legs on a wine. Legs, it's nothing more than a lot of alcohol. So if there's legs, you're drinking a higher ABV, right? So this one does not. Now, what's the smell? When you smell wine, you want to have your mouth just a little bit open, and you put your nose down into the glass. And if you move the glass again, now you're going to move some of that aroma around, and you're going to make it happen with this little swirl that you do. And you smell again. So each time you smell, you're going to have a different scent. Anyone, what'd you get out of it, Randy? Fruity. Fruity, yeah, it's a little fruity. Mm-hmm. And anything else here?
I just got fruity too, because I thought that was your bourbon, you know, your spare stash of bourbon.
Oh, listen, this thing was empty when I got it here. It weighs 115 pounds. Oh, yeah. So, and then you're going to swirl it, as I just said earlier. And, you know, people say, oh, that, you know, that it's just a little sex appeal is all it really is, the swirl. It does nothing more than it brings some more oxygen in there and brings the smell up, right? Which makes it really very, very, very flavorful. Now, if you were a professional and you were going to taste wine all day, or if you go to the vineyards and you go to Napa, I would recommend you taste and you spit. Because if you drink all that wine, you will be trashed by the time. Now, we're only doing 3 tonight, so I'm really okay with drinking. Well, I could probably drink all of them and be okay. But my point is, if you were traveling and you were doing something different, you would want to be sure that you don't always drink it. When you hear some of these professionals and you watch them on TV and you watch what they do, that's how they do it. And the other thing they do is they always want to bring oxygen into their mouth. The more oxygen, the more your wine opens up. So similar to this. So when the wine is in your mouth, you got, with this particular wine, you got a little dryness at the back of your tongue, yes. Mm-hmm. Right? And a little tart, typical Chardonnay. Mm-hmm. The dryness, or what the tannins do, they bring the dryness. Look, Cab Sav is very dry, right? This, you can get, Chardonnays are typically pretty dry as well. This one happens to have that tad of sweetness at the beginning, which is why, what did we pair this with, Mikey? The apple. Mm-hmm. So now, after you've sampled that little bit, I want you to pick up a little piece of your apple. You can either do it with the sharp cheese and the multi-grain cracker, or you can do it independently, however you want to do that. And the sharp cheese is right next to it, and then try it with the apple and the sharp cheese, and you're going to have a whole nother flavor. Mm-hmm. I promise. When you talk about pairing wine with food, we're so blessed with the internet, right? We can Google anything. And I can tell you that there's not a wine out there that I wouldn't recommend some kind of cheese with, some kind of fruit with, and some kind of chocolate with. Mm-hmm. Hence the reason we have the chocolatier here, the man himself. Oh my gosh. Okay, now, that was good, right? It brings out that more flavor. There's no wrong answer. When someone says to you, what do you taste? There's never a wrong answer. It's what you taste. It's what you've experienced in the past. It's how you reference fruity. You've had a fruity flavor in the past. Feel free to take another sip of that if you'd like. and go ahead and enjoy another piece of the apple or the cracker and the cheese. And then what we're going to do, after you do that, we're going to talk a little bit about the chocolate. Now, as you know, I don't keep this big girl figure by not eating chocolate. Every time I end up at the Speech Candy Shop, I come back with this big old container of chocolate-covered potato chips. Nothing that I eat myself, of course, but stuff that I want to share with people. So Michael went through, and he has strategically paired a chocolate with each of these wines. So Michael, why don't you go ahead and tell us about the first truffle, and which one it is.
Okay, so the first truffle that you're going to be trying tonight, it's actually in your little bowl. We have all three of them there for you. It's going to be the one with the L, the white chocolate with the yellow L on top. That is actually going to be our lemon truffle. So when I do pairings now, and everyone's a little bit different when they're pairing their wines and their chocolates, and again, with their foods, I typically don't go for the kill. Like you can probably pick up your wines and say, oh, I taste apple right away. Oh, I taste, whatever that flavor happens to be. I typically won't go for that first flavor. I try to play around with it a little bit more. So when I was working with this wine actually, I got a little bit of that citrusy zest out of it a little bit, which is why I did the lemon. So that's what you're trying tonight. And
it's incredible.
Thank you.
Oh my gosh. And that little bit of lemon, and then sip your wine, you're gonna see that zest comes right out. Oh, that zest comes right out. That's some good stuff.
Thank you.
Yeah, I'll be eating the rest of this later. Okay, so all of that makes sense. That's how we're going to move forward. On your table, I also have a glass of water. This happens to be cucumber water. And cucumbers and water are a good palate cleanser. So make sure you drink some water now before we go to the next wine. Oh, you can do whatever you like, as long as you want it, as long as you're happy. So, rosé. This is my best story about rosé, and I probably shouldn't tell this story, but I'm gonna because I'm that girl. So here I am in Italy at one of the vineyards, trying all these wines, deciding which wines I'm gonna buy for Lacey's Tacos Bar. So I've got the white blend, I've got the red blend, and I've got a buzz going on. Thank God, I was not driving. So all of a sudden the vintner, he knows that I own a restaurant. He comes up to me and he says, Laura, I've got one more wine for you to taste. And I said, okay, what is it? And I didn't care because I was like, ooh, life is good. And it was a rosé. So he walked away and I looked at Cindy and I said, rosé, isn't that a little trashy? Why are we drinking rosé? She's like, you can't say that to him. I said, I don't know, but it's not. Rosé has made a huge comeback. It's really been so popular in the last 3 to 4 years. That's a true story. And yeah, I told you, a lot of class. So this rosé happens to be a sparkling rosé as well. And so there was a lot of sparkle and bubble in it when I poured it into your glass initially. But most certainly, it's definitely very tasty. So pick up your glass again, and let's go ahead and take a look at the color. And you make sure that there's no cork in your glass because that could happen, right? And you want to be really cautious of that. And after you take a look at it, you get your smell going on. A smell when it's still, and a smell after you've swirled it. And when you swirl it, you can see the carbonation here from the actual wine itself coming up on the sides. Whew, boy, that smells good. And then let's go ahead and sip it and see what we think. What'd you get? What makes you talk about? No, we do not play. What flavor did you get?
It's not a citrus, but it's a sweet, but it's subtle.
Yeah.
It's just like roses. Yeah, it's a lovely
So here, tell us about the last time you ate roses. As long as we're all on the same page. I told you there was something wrong here. you know, the funny story for me that with the rosé, like I said, is I never really drank rosé. That was the first. That was probably, this is like 6 years ago, whatever. And I'll tell you what, I enjoy this so much because I like that little bit of that little jump at you that from the carbonation of it, right? And it hits you pretty hard. I think from a tasting notes perspective, which is why we've got some strawberries here. Try it with a strawberry while I'm speaking. And you've got strawberries, you've got brie cheese, and you've got toast points. But feel free to eat any of that and try it again. You're gonna feel more flavor come out of that. You know, there's definitely some strawberry coming out of there. There could be some rose. I haven't drank enough yet to tell you if there's enough rose. Mikey, what did you get out of it when you drink it?
So yeah, I mean, I got a little bit of that fresh fruit, like just like a nice fresh fruit plate with that, and the strawberries, which is why we did a chocolate-covered strawberry truffle. So it's a milk chocolate truffle with strawberry on it.
I can't wait to get to that. Yeah, but it's different, isn't it? As you eat some of this, like especially as you eat that strawberry by itself, the citrusy blows up a little bit more in your mouth, right? So, and again, this is the fun part about wine tasting. So go ahead and try the chocolate. Mikey just told you, it's a milk chocolate. What is it, Mikey?
So it's a chocolate-covered strawberry truffle. So it's milk chocolate with strawberry on the inside, and that's the one with the pink on top.
Oh, there's a problem here. I don't mess up my lipstick. I can't do it. Yeah, but isn't it? And then just take a small bite and take a sip of your wine. It's just amazing to me what chocolate and wine do together. I love chocolate with wine, one of my favorite pairings. You know, when I was getting ready to put this all together, I found out something that I didn't know. I guess maybe I'm not always that smart person, but when you go through and you talk about the flavor profile, in our mouths we can taste sweet, bitter, sour, salty, and umami. Am I saying it right? Umami? And I was like, okay, what is that word? I mean, I think I'm pretty well, I pretty much know a lot about alcohol and wine. So I looked it up, and that's that savory, meaty flavor that they're calling it, and it's spelled U-M-A-M-I. So I thought, oh, well, I got the sour, I got the bitter, I got all the other ones, I gotta learn how to say that one. All right, so there you go. Let's have some more water in between. And for those of you at home, I definitely recommend you absolutely have some water. It doesn't have to have cucumber in it. You could do sorbet if you're doing a house party or whatever. But we like cucumber water here at Lacey's Tapas Bar. It's pretty much our staple. Yeah. So the last wine we're going to taste tonight is the best wine as far as I'm concerned, because I'm a huge Cab Sav fan. And I have spent a lot of time drinking a lot of Cab Sav and meeting many vintners, which I'm very proud of through my time here at Lacey's Tapas Bar. This is Tom Gore. You know, one of my employees, Jen, she could sit down and drink this whole bottle by herself. And I think to myself, there's no way I could do that. I wouldn't be able to walk out of here. But she loves this wine so much. And it's a 2018 vintage, and man, is it a good wine. So again, let's pick up the wine. Now this is where it gets interesting with red wine. If the red wine is a little more iridescent, it's not going to be as heavy. You can tell this is going to be a little heavier, right? Because this has got a nice plum look to it, a gold look to it, right? Now, when I'd like you to smell this before you swirl it. Now, if you happen to ever smell a musty kind of a smell when you're swirling your wine, reject the wine, okay? Because that means the wine is bad. So that's really important to know. Now go ahead and give it a quick swirl. You gotta get that down pat. And now give it another smell. Oh, mamma mia. Isn't that incredible?
It is, it's really good.
It really is, it's a great red wine. And it's for the money, it's a good red wine. It's not an expensive red wine. It's nice to have at your house. And if you notice, the wines that we do here at Lacey's Tapas Bar, they are pretty much off-brand wines. They're not wines that you typically hear about. They're not typically promoted. I try to buy things that don't go on special at the liquor stores. So, salute, please, take a sip. How rich is that? Right? How rich is that?
It's amazing.
What'd you get, Randy?
It's delicious.
Joy, how about you?
basil?
You know, just so funny you say that because I think there is a little basil in that to me too. So each time you sample it though, you get something a little different, especially when you go ahead and pair it with the food. So with this we have a plum, because there's a lot of plum in this for me. So that's why I did some fresh plums there. We've got some goat cheese, and then we have some rosemary Triscuits. So that, the rosemary as well really helps, believe it or not, and plus the salt will help blow it up a little bit differently. But definitely try it with the plum. Right?
Yeah.
It's really fascinating how the
It really is. And when you start to think about the challenge here, of course with tapas, you're getting all over the spectrum, you're getting different foods, right? If you're at like the Grimaldi's, or you're at Francesca's, or you're over at Attilio's, you're gonna get a meal. Here's your pasta, here's your steak, whatever. It's easier to order a wine accordingly, right? It's a little more challenging here, but I look at it this way. It's all good. It's all good, and I can drink all of it. And there's very seldom a bad wine for me. Very seldom. But this really is one of my top sellers. Thank you very much. And Mikey, you got some chocolate that goes along with this.
I do. So the third truffle is actually our dark chocolate truffle. So this has actually got rosemary in it, because that was one of the flavors that I got out of sampling about half a bottle of Tom Gore.
Alcoholic.
Hey.
No, hang on, Roseaholic.
Rose. It's called research and development.
Oh, R&D, that's right.
Thank you. Okay. But this one actually has rosemary right in it, and then we also topped it with another local business, Syracuse Salt Works, just came out with a rosemary salt.
Oh, wow.
So it actually has that nice little salt with rosemary right in there.
Oh my goodness.
So that's got like a nice flavor to it.
Yeah, this is, you know, and again, folks, listen, this is just a sampling of what you can do. And it gives you an opportunity to say, wow, I can do something like this at my house. All I gotta do is research the wine and have some fun with it. You know, really, it's the tannins that bring you the dryness, right? And there's the legs, it's the alcohol volume. There's just a few things that you wanna know that you can become more of an expert, if you will, with the wines. So are there questions that I can answer about any of the wines or anything that we've said so far? Anybody? Going once.
So when you have a meal like that, where you have various tastes, is there something you do in between each wine and food curry?
I would, for tapas here, we don't, but if I were a 5-star tapas in a major city, I would do sorbet. Yeah, I would absolutely. They have these little tiny, and it's just, I think it's fabulous when they do it. A lot of times when you're traveling overseas, they do a little sorbet as well in higher end restaurants. Yeah, that's what I would do. And here, what I tell people all the time is that here we've got to make sure that we've got the, obviously the water here at the tables, but we've got to make sure that we can, if you want to do a flight, that might help you. If you had a wine flight, if you had several tapas, and the wine flight might have a white and 2 reds, it might help you direct in terms of which way you want to go with which wines you want to order. So if it's a Spanish flight or an Italian flight, and that's really good to know when you're at home as well, is that, you know, having those different varietals. So the Tom Gore, I believe, it definitely was California. I think the Ruffino, yeah, that's from Italy, and where's that
Washington.
from? And Washington State, yeah. So, you know, I do try to periodically find wines that are like a South African Chardonnay I had, and wow, was it good. And I thought, South African Chardonnay, I went to order it, and it was really good. So, but you don't think about that when you're out shopping for wine, because when you get used to a Tom Gore, this becomes your favorite Cab Sav. After you get used to this, what you're gonna do is you're gonna go to the area wherever this was growing, and this is right in Napa. So when you go to the wine section and you pick out which wines that you wanna buy, make sure that the title says Napa Valley. Right? Now, it's no different than bourbons. If you get a bourbon or a scotch, you get a scotch from Speyside, then you're gonna go ahead and buy all the scotch that you like from the Speyside region. So you know it's familiar, you know what you like, no one can tell you it's wrong, it's all about you. And boy, I sure do appreciate the opportunity to be here. And again, I'm Laura, and this is Michael's speech. And we're happy to have this moment with you. And congratulations again, Pierre and Joy, on being the chairs this year. I wish we were in person too, so I could harass you there on the dance floor. It would have been easier for me, but most certainly, and thank you for being in my restaurant.
Oh, thank
Okay.
Thank you, Laura and Michael.
Thank you so much.
Yeah, it's amazing.
Thank you.
Whoops. Seems to me like some people don't know when a good pairing should end. Well, thank you to everyone for making this evening possible. Our sponsors, our foundation trustees, our board members, staff and volunteers, and community supporters. Don't forget, our silent auction is open until Sunday, December 6th at 7 o'clock. So make sure you bid at the link below. Our live jewelry raffle will be announced at the Vera House Facebook page, Vera House Inc., on Monday, December 7th at 12 noon. So make certain that you tune in for that live drawing. Thank you once again for joining us, and from the bottom of our hearts, we so appreciate your continued support of Vera House and its mission. We'll see you next year in person.